Well, welcome to take two of the blue seat.
Whoop, whoop.
I think it's almost like take three, but who's counting, Tim? But we are here with Tim Center, CEO of Capital Area Community Action Agency. And again, our subject matter is the highs and lows of a CEO, and we could not think of anyone better than Tim Center to come and talk to us about the highs and lows of a CEO.
You're too kind, especially after we blew up Facebook last week.
It's all you, Tim. We'll just blame it all on you. Well, let's get started with some amazing questions that we have for you. And I think this interview has been somewhat challenging because the content is so important and it really means a lot to our listeners, our viewers, and those who are interested in becoming a CEO. Some of the questions that you're going to answer, I think, will help a lot of people. So the very first one, if any of you were following us on Facebook, we're referring to the Forbes article that we posted a couple of weeks ago, and it's called 5 Challenges of All Nonprofit Leaders, or that all nonprofit leaders must come to terms with. And one of the 5 challenges includes mission creep, which some of you may know about that term, but we'll have Tim explain what mission creep is. But the article states that there is a constant emotional pull from volunteers, staff, and major donors to expand services. Even worse is the intense pressure from grant makers to fund programs instead of operating costs, or to come up with solutions that have been around for centuries. So Tim, how do you address mission creep in your organization?
Well, Capital Area Community Action Agency is in charge of a lot of things. In fact, community is in our name, and mission creep is a big challenge because there are so many things that are really pressing and important to address, but we can't do it all, and no organization should. They should really focus on their core mission and do what they do and do it really well. When I first came on board, we had a food bank, and we had a clothing closet. There are organizations that do that really, really well, so we got rid of those to focus on paying utility bills, to helping keep the lights on for families who are low income, helping them make their homes more energy efficient with our weatherization services, providing free healthcare, free childcare with our Head Start program that enables the parents to go to school or work, and then also making sure that folks have a pathway to prosperity through our Getting Ahead or Staying Ahead program. Mission creep would say, well, what are we doing about healthcare? What are we doing about mental health? What are you doing for after school programming? Well, there's a lot of other organizations out there that should focus on that and do a really good job, and we should help with referrals and break down the silos between all of us so that we can work more collaboratively together. The other is being very careful not to go chase dollars. Sometimes those grant funders are out there offering up these wonderful opportunities, but if that takes you off your mission, that means you're not probably going to do a great job of it. Hopefully, stay focused on what you're doing. It's a challenge. You have to explain it to your board. You have to get buy-in from your staff, but you got to realize you can't be everything to everybody.
Exactly. And so when mission creep comes across your path, where is it usually coming from, Tim?
Well, the funny part about this is that my little mantra I've got is seize the asset, figure out what to do with it. So in some cases, mission creep might present a new opportunity that is aligned with your mission and you haven't pursued it. The wildfires in East Point, Florida, presented an opportunity for us to come in and help support those displaced residents in a meaningful manner with housing, but then we can then complement that with our Getting Ahead, Staying Ahead program, hopefully enabling them not to have to worry about public assistance in the future. So the opportunity, be careful with them, weigh them carefully, but be careful not to get out there too much.
Right. Well, the article also states that balancing innovation and productivity can also be a challenge for a CEO. So creativity, as we know, takes time and attention, but budgets are tight and employees are have full plates of responsibility. And how do you encourage innovation among your team when there are so many other competing priorities?
Well, your question kind of almost answers the issue, because when you have the declining revenues, you're forced to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more innovative, and hopefully you get a little smarter. Not necessarily doing more with less, but just being smarter about how you do it. But with my staff, we look at innovation in a way that says there are 1,600 Head Start providers out there. There are 1,000 community action agencies out there. Who's doing what really well? And how can we take those best practices and apply them on our shop? And if it requires an investment of our dollars, let's do it, but fail quickly. In other words, make sure you've got some good metrics and know that you're going to try to be innovative, but know if it's not working, get out of it quickly. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of resources.
I would agree. Well, one thing that we did was we conducted an informal poll on Facebook, asking some of our followers, what questions would they like for us to ask of you. And overwhelmingly, we had, like, among those who responded, Courtney Atkins and Jean Kimball would like to know, if you had one do-over, what would it be?
Well, I have a habit of blocking out bad experiences. And one that continues to kind of haunt me a little bit was an end of the year speech and presentation to our Head Start teachers. And I was a bit negative, delivering a very tough message in that, and I really, really wish I could do that over. I wish I could go back in and reframe the issue, reframe the takeaway at the end of that conversation. I met with them today, actually, apologized for that speech. I've apologized a couple times to them for that. But delivering tough news, it needs to be done in a delicate manner, in a purposeful manner. I think you can still be very, very forceful and deliberate, but you can also be compassionate. And I really have to watch my tone sometimes when I'm frustrated.
Well, that's really good advice, because that's also reflective of a CEO continually having to learn and themselves, right?
Oh,
It was a learning opportunity
Yeah,
for
for
yourself.
sure, for
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, and obviously you've taken it to heart, because you've mentioned it a couple of times about that 1 year ago instance that really
Horrible.
bothered you.
Yeah.
So that's really a lesson learned. Well, there was another question on the poll. Jillian Fry, Ryan Cohen, and Kimberly Saneeth had wanted to know, among others, and that's, what is the hardest decision that you've had to make as a CEO?
Well, you've got great people that follow your Facebook page, and so
We do.
Yeah. I think that question gets to the heart to me of dealing with probably personnel decisions. They're the toughest, and always very, very delicate to work through when you're needing to let a person go, but still making sure you treat them with dignity and respect, and making sure that they still feel valued as an individual and a person who can contribute. Sometimes folks just don't match and mesh with your agency focus and purpose, and you've got to make some tough decisions there.
Right, that's true. And then Mandy Lou Carol Bryant Martin had also wanted to know, what do you, or rather, who do you consider to be your role model?
Well, other than Kelly-Otti, it's a little side joke there. The thing is that there are so many really good leaders in this community, in the
There are.
nonprofit sector and the private sector as well, and our university sectors, and it's wonderful. But I tell you what, I really respect my wife as a leader. I really respect what she's done, growing and taking her passion into a business. She's a horse trainer with Cavallo Farms. Amy's fantastic in terms of not only what she does professionally, but what she's done personally in the lives of those folks who she's training, who are competing across the Southeast, and the outcomes that she's had, and the risks that she's taken as a business owner. And I think a lot of those lessons really I've taken to heart and kind of applied, not just in this current position, but in my previous roles as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I really would love to, I guess everyone needs a role model like that. If we can borrow Mrs. Center, right, we share the love. But I wanted to ask you this question that I think would help some upcoming CEOs. And what advice would you give to someone who's interested in becoming a CEO of a nonprofit?
Well, I think CEO period is going to be an interesting role, whether it's in the private sector or in the nonprofit sector. I think the opportunity is really, how do you empower the folks that work around you? How do you lead by example? How do you manage people, and how do you stay focused on outcomes? And the opportunities that folks may have when they're working toward that goal is to, one, let your boss know you're interested in that sort of position at some point in your career, so that they can give you opportunities to take on special projects, lead multi-dimensional teams of people. Whether you're managing people directly now, you can manage people in a project and really get a lot of the same experiences, which will then contribute to you having the necessary background that will enable you to kind of pursue a role as a CEO, as a leader of a nonprofit organization.
Excellent. Couldn't agree more. So take on more responsibility.
Take on responsibility that is going to give you the skills necessary to play that role of CEO.
Yes.
I think that's the balance is making sure, does this help me advance, give me the skills I need, or is it just more work? If you can, try to be choosy.
Yes, I agree. There is a difference between the two. Well, those are all the formal questions, so we're going to have a little fun.
right.
Okay, just a couple of quick rounds of some impromptu questions.
I'm
So,
6'3". Yes,
6'3".
That's a big pressing. Oh no.
Oh, good grief. Brag, brag, brag. So let's think, favorite food?
Favorite food? It's so funny. When my daughter was born at 6 p.m., my first words and my first thoughts were, I wonder if she'll like spaghetti. And I was hungry. I think everybody was. Italian dinner. I love an Italian meal. Probably, spaghetti.
Italian, okay, easy. Cheap date.
I am. I'm simple.
Favorite color?
Favorite color? Probably black. Black is classic, goes with everything, looks good. I'll probably have to go with black. Or is that every color or the absence of color? I can't remember.
I don't know, but I agree with that completely. And favorite music?
I'm an 80s alternative kind of guy. So REM, U2, that sort of stuff. That's my go-to jam.
I completely love it. Thank you so much, Tim, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Enjoy being here, and thanks for everything you're doing with INNY.
Oh, we appreciate your support. Bye-bye.
Bye.